going back to 2023, most of the banks were sandboxing AI. So trying to figure out in a sandbox environment how to use AI and where to use AI.
What were you most worried about? And was there a point in your journey where you thought, okay, we've made it, we're going to survive, I'm going to keep doing this?
The most scary part for us is we started the company, 1 year later, COVID hit. That was completely unplanned for. We had no idea. And we're trying to build a platform. We are building an AI platform to sell to the banks. That was always the plan. How do you sell to someone when you cannot meet anybody or even talk to them?
My name's Dipesh Patel, editor at Trade Treasury Payments. Welcome to TTP Studios. I'm delighted to be joined by CEO and co-founder of AI company Cleareye.ai, Maria George, who's visiting us over from New York. Maria, welcome to TTP Studios.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And here we're talking about your journey as co-founder and CEO, the growth of Cleareye, and also what it's really like to grow and lead a company of what today is 140 people from all around the world, really making a difference to trade documents, processes, and reducing some of the operational burdens that many banks make. To start off with, let's go right from the beginning and actually before the inception of Cleareye. And Maria, you started a company called UST way back when you met Sarath, your co-founder. What was a typical day like for you? How did that all start?
So I'll start by, I joined UST right out of college. That was my first job. I did computer science. And when I joined UST, this is back in India. I studied in India and I joined the firm. I was there only for a short while in India and I soon moved to the US. And when I first joined, I was doing more consulting work. So UST is a tech company. It was, and I was working with many of the banking clients at that time. And my job earlier on in my career was to understand what the banking customers' needs are, and as a tech company, how to help them with their tech needs. Very simple, straightforward. Fast forward, almost a decade later, I was leading the banking portfolio for them. So when I left UST, I was leading the banking portfolio and I had the P&L responsibility and a large team responsible for and customers like Morgan Stanley, State Street Bank, mostly in North America and some in Europe. Fast forward a decade, in 2012, this is when AI was a buzzword. Everybody was talking about AI, trying to figure out what AI meant. Artificial intelligence was something that everybody wanted to try out. It's a pet project. So in the company, what we did is we started working with Stanford AI Labs. And this is how we really figured out, brilliant minds there. And I was very fortunate to have a great team working with me too. So you worked with them, and the idea was to figure out how to commercialize AI. And what I mean by that is at that time, when you go to a bank and say that I have an AI product, they look at you and like, no, it's not going to fly. So we figured out how to commercialize AI, built a product, an AI product that focuses on workflow automation in my previous job. We sold it to some of the large banks, and that's how it all started. And then we were like, the team, my co-founder, my CTO, we are all working together in the same project. We were like, this is very interesting and fascinating. And we wanted to do something different. Now, a little bit of a personal flavor, I come from a business family. And I was, I graduated as an engineer, and I was the first in my generation to really go for a job outside business. So it was always ingrained in me, something in there, like I want to do something related to business, maybe one day start a business. But then your career takes off, you're fine, you're just used to doing things your way. Then when this opportunity came in, and it was also the time when my kids, like as a mom, my kids were in the middle school, and I wanted to be give them an example. If you really want to put your mind to something, hard work, perseverance, and consistency will pay off. That's what really motivated me to do something like this and start Cleareye. We decided to do it, and here we are. 6 years later.
So thank you very much. And what an exciting, inspirational journey. And I want to dig deeper. So you have two kids. You're in the middle of raising them up, and you came up with this idea to start Cleareye. You left UST. Can you tell me a little bit more about that journey?
It was it was a scary one to begin with, but I had a very supportive family. I still remember going to my husband and saying, "I'm going to quit my job." And he looked at me, he said, "Okay." And then he said, "I have this vision. We talked about it. We want to build something. We want to start a company." Like I said, I think I was very fortunate to have that support. But the kids were young and I had to commit to it. And I had a wonderful team. So the combination of it made it possible. And once you are in, once you're thrown into the deep end, you figure out how to make it work. And I always believe that if you put your mind to something, you're an entrepreneur, you know how it is, you know the journey. So we make it work. And it's been an amazing journey.
What were you most worried about? And was there a point in your journey where you thought, okay, we've made it. We're going to survive. I'm going to keep doing this.
I'll start with the scary part first. When you first start a company, there's only so much money you can invest on your own. You need to find the investors. So that's the first scary part. We were fortunate. We were able to find a VC firm and a family office based in, to be our early investors. So that was, again, using the word again, fortunate, lucky. And we had to. So when we take money from somebody, you have to return it with interest. You have to generate the ROI for it. So that's more pressure. Now, that's one part. The most scary part for us is we started the company 1 year later, COVID hit. That was completely unplanned for. We had no idea. And we're trying to build a platform. We are building an AI platform to sell to the banks. That was always the plan. How do you sell to someone when you cannot meet anybody or even talk to them? And so those 1.5 years of COVID, real pandemic time, was extremely scary because didn't know what was holding, how long this is going to go on for. But looking back, it was a blessing because we were able to focus on building the platform. We were not distracted. We went deep in, we built the platform, made sure that it was enterprise ready, and then we could go to market when COVID was over.
And how long was it before you got your first paying clients and starting the company in 2019?
22. And one of our first customers was JP Morgan. We had Comerica Bank, which is another regional bank in the US. So those two were our first customers. The turning point for the company was JP Morgan. They were a customer first, and they made sure that the product works. It was live in production. And after that, they came in as an investor. That was really the turning point for the firm.
No, very, very exciting. Now, you're a woman in I would say still a very male-dominated world, and even rarer, a female CEO of a tech firm. Can you talk about what the landscape is, what it's like being a female running a large technology company, and also some of the challenges that you might have faced when it comes to selling to banks?
I like to think of it as, I don't want to overdo it. Let me explain what I mean by that, right? It is definitely more challenging to be a woman founder, co-founder, and a CEO, which is a fact. I think everybody agrees with it. There have been so many forums. I've been part of many discussions, and I really enjoyed those conversations. But for me, the beginning was the toughest part. Once you get to a certain point, and once you have established yourself and your firm, it's easier. But to get to that point, it takes grit, it takes courage, which is a fact. And I tell anybody who would like to listen to me and the young talent out there, say, take the first step. That's the most difficult part. Now, and also when we try to hiring the right talent matters, right? How do we help? I mean, whether you're a man or woman, it doesn't matter. But building a company, finding the right talent matters. And leadership, for me, it's all about not just leading by title. Leadership is about leading by getting into the depth of things, understanding the details of it. And if you just use your title to lead, I don't think it's going to be scalable or sustainable. And I think the banks that we work with, our customers, expect that. They need precision, they need quality, They need confidence. So that's what they expect too. So that's how I look at it. And also when you find another important aspect, I was thinking about it, and I was just like, I was having a conversation with someone the other day. And when you're trying to find your team members, hire someone who will think out of the box. Hire not just pure raw talent, because it's easy. I mean, you will find the talent, but someone who can come up to you with the potential problems that you can see. Someone who will tell you not what you want to hear all the time. That's very important. Surround yourself with people like that. It's going to be very helpful for you as a leader.
Maria, did you have to change yourself as a person as you scaled the company to what is now a team of 140 people?
Absolutely. I'll tell you what my kids say. My kids tell me that I have two personalities. I have a personality at work and I have a personality at home. And they often challenge me, why can't you be the person you're at work, at home? So I said that because, yes, I did. Because one of the things, and again, I'll tie it back to your earlier question, women are thought supposed to be more emotional than men. That's what people say. I'm not going to say if it's right or wrong, but that was something that I personally took on myself. I'm like, I cannot be emotional when I'm trying to run a company. There will be so many things that I don't like. There will be, I'm making a hire, which will backfire. I mean, we're making a product pivot. It didn't work. One of the deals didn't close. Of course, you're going to be emotional about all of these things. But that's my problem. That's not for anybody else to see. So I had to remind myself early on in the stage of the company that problems are for mine to solve. There's no point in sharing with anybody else, but we'll work as a team to solve it, but they don't need to see how I feel about it. So that took a little bit of time, and I had to convince myself that was very important to do.
Interesting. Now, just a question on, and we're going to take this conversation towards AI, but on the way, a question on hiring and AI, because artificial intelligence has completely changed the way that people both apply for jobs and also how the companies see and screen talent, but not necessarily for the right reasons. We've seen lots of challenges that many are facing when hiring genuine talent. Have you found that that's affected your pipeline, your hiring pipeline, your hiring process? And how do we go about trying to actually find the right people for the company now that it's potentially got more complicated?
Yes, the process has changed. And for us, because we are a tech firm, if I'm hiring for an engineering talent, the process we have established is really see what that person can do. An interview, and 1 hour interview, 2 hours interview, there's only so much you can gauge a person on. So we always ask them to do something like, a programming challenge, depending on the level of the talent. If it's a junior talent, of course, you have to do some programming to test the skills. If it's a senior talent, we always look at, this is a real world problem. How would you approach this problem? Because that's a problem statement, and I want to understand the thinking process. If it's anyone with if sales, marketing, any of those roles, we don't hire without meeting the person. And we are a global firm. I mean, we would figure out a way to meet before we hire that person. Because like I said before, the emotional intelligence matters. And in this world we are living in, when you can just put ChatGPT or Claude to give you the answers, it's very important to see how that person will respond to something.
Thank you, Maria. So now let's talk about AI, and obviously, Cleareye emerged well before the banks were getting excited about AI. But what's really changed the needle for those banks looking to embrace it as a core, part of their organizations?
Yeah, the last 3-4 years have changed significantly in the AI landscape. And I say that because going back to 2023, most of the banks were sandboxing AI. So trying to figure out in a sandbox environment how to use AI and where to use AI. That's no longer the case. And I say that because most of the boards have mandated the banks to use AI. And regulators are also saying you need to explain AI. So that is a significant shift that has happened. So the explainability and model risk governance are just table stakes now. That's a fundamental change in the last 2-3 years. The other thing that has happened that has changed big time is the way the domain-based AI. What I mean by that is everybody is talking about LLMs. You can use large language models to, to do a lot of things. But the key differentiator now is that you need to have, you can use LLM, but with the domain flavor, because you cannot use general purpose LLMs to solve a trade finance problem. I'll tell you why I'm saying that, because trade, as you know, it's a ton of unstructured data, and a generic purpose LLM, and many companies have tried to do that and they have failed to. It's because they tried to apply a generic LLM without the domain flavor to it, and
Yep.
it will not work. So that's a big shift that has happened as well. The third thing I can talk about is when we talk about AI, it is no longer about automation. It's about reasoning. It's about, can I bring in more efficiencies by automation? That's status quo. But can I use AI to think better? Now, apply that to a trade finance into the landscape, right? You have all these unstructured documents coming in. You have a ton of sanctions issues. And then can the AI help me make the decisions better? Can it help me think better? So we eventually augment the human doing the work to do it smarter. So that we're already there. And some of the work that we are doing at Cleareye is definitely in that, aligned to that.
It's a really interesting point, because as AI gets better, so does fraud, and you're getting into this evolutionary arms race, because in terms of can I find it faster than it's coming at me?
Yes.
So I guess it's all the more reason, right, to be using AI in a domain specific way, in that reasoning way, to be able to fight fraudulent documents which have been created using AI.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Because gone are the days when you can just think about doing, maybe I'll do a little bit of document processing and I'll do all my compliance checks, manually. Fraudsters are sometimes much more smarter than the way financial institutions are evolving. They're doing faster because they don't have anything to lose. They can try things out. So it's no longer an option, it is a must-have, because it's not just automation, it's also decisioning.
So how do institutions like NatWest, Lloyds Bank, Adman Bank, JP Morgan, how do they measure successful adoption of some of the tools that Cleareye offer, ROI?
So success of course, success is measured once the product goes live into production. And I say that because you can easily do a pilot. I mean, any company can do a pilot and say that I'm like trying to figure out with a small set of clients for this bank, etc. And we've been very fortunate to have many customers in production for over 3 to 4 years now. So when you ask me about ROI, it's a couple of things. One, we measure ROI using AI along with the human. So how much, and it's not replacing a human, how much efficiencies was the system able to bring in? Can I reduce the total processing time? When you're looking for discrepancies in a trade transaction, how effective was the system to identify all the discrepancies? Did the system identify a discrepancy the human didn't find? Did we get all the sanctions correct, all the sanctioned entities correct? Are the red flag automations working great? So these are so we have KPIs that system will report on a monthly basis.
Versus the human.
Yes. So we have not worse. So versus how the human was in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because at this point, once you're live in production, you're not trying to compare against the human. We're trying to augment the human and see how are we doing better. So we have a baseline when we go live, and then we compare against that baseline and continuously try to improve month over month.
Okay. So you are what you eat.
Okay.
AI is obviously something that you're constantly telling your prospective and current partner banks to adopt throughout their organizations when it comes to those trade finance operations. How is your firm using and utilizing AI internally?
Now, so one of the things we changed last year, especially with all the advancements that came in, right? Till last year, we were focused on build the product, take it to the customers. But last year, it changed so much with Anthropic, the Claude coding coming in. Wipe coding was a thing. And so we decided that we have to your point, practice what we are teaching. And we significantly changed the way we're building our own code. So, for example, testing. We don't have to, the test automation, the regression testing suite is completely automated. We use Claude to build our own suites of testing. We had a lot of machine learning. We have a lot of large language models that we use. Testing those models was very cumbersome. That's fully automated right now. On the other side, where we use like marketing, sales, all of those is like really finance, for example. We are leveraging Claude big time, and we are seeing results. To the extent, like in our last board meeting, but the deck that was used to present to the board, it looks so different because it's so much more efficient to create it using the tools that are available right now. But don't misunderstand me. It's not like that will do it for you. It's you do the work, and you're asking it to do some checks and then presenting it in a much more easier, efficient way. So the user experience, the UI is much more efficient. So we are big time using it in the firm, and we are seeing real value to the extent that we are committed to show the progress on a quarter-over-quarter basis and present to the board as well.
Very exciting. What about agents?
We are using agents in a limited fashion in the product. And I say limited fashion for a reason. I don't think we are there yet. The regulators are not ready to approve the autonomous agents in any bank. So we are very cautious. Our approach, our strategy has been try things out, be prepared to do it when we get the approvals. And I say that because even LLMs, we've been talking about it for almost 2 years. We are getting the approvals now. It took 2 years for us to get to that point, but we've been, figuring out how to leverage. Our architecture has been built to accommodate multi-modal architecture. So we are working on it, and that's one of the things I believe we will get to maybe a year from now. Mm-hmm. But when it's there, we'll be ready. It's not autonomous yet.
So a lot of the items that we've been talking about, and I've known you for several years, and we've always been talking about spotting the red flags, reducing fraud, increasing the efficacy of trade finance operations, and really looking at the documents. And we have, despite we don't say it all the time, but I think we have made some good progress as an industry, whether that's legal reform mm-hmm. or technical big reform and changes. Obviously, trade is an instrument that can aid developing and emerging economies who are often trapped out of the trade finance system. Mm-hmm. And we have multi-trillion-dollar trade finance gaps. Are there use cases for Cleareye's technology to help promote inclusion of trade finance, particularly in some of those developing and emerging economies that are often excluded, but with this great tech, with automation, with better efficiency, can we include more into the global trading system?
With the tech as it stands today, what Cleareye does, it's limited. However, what I would love to see is, and you talked about how much it has changed over the last couple of years too. I do believe that the next couple of years, paper will be gone and we will be truly digital. We're not talking about digital as a PDF. We'll be truly digital. ML/ETL adoption will be really good. And with that, we'll get to a point where trade transactions will be much more faster and efficient. And we will leverage the agents you talked about. Would love to be in a place where we are really leveraging agents to make trade transactions autonomous. And then eventually, the trade deficit you talked about, 2.5 trillion at this point, if banks can process every trade transaction that comes to them without having to worry about the challenges they are facing today, many of the small businesses cannot even do that. I mean, they're not able to approve it because of the challenges they're facing right now. So I'm hoping that products like ClearTrade eventually will be able to help banks do that and bring down the trade deficit.
Thank you very much. That was Maria George, CEO and co-founder of Cleareye.ai, talking about women leadership, the rise of artificial intelligence, and trade as an instrument and tool to aid economic development. Maria, thank you very much for joining us in London.
Thank you, Deepesh.